Okay, today we're gonna be doing a
Go
frame-by-frame
frame.
analysis of XD, // animation meme,
No, it's actually forward slash.
whatever.
Has to be forward slash. Yeah, it's forward slash.
So we're gonna be doing a frame-by-frame analysis of
Okay,
this.
so
So first frame.
okay, so it starts off white with a yeah.
So it builds up this sort of
So we need to
character.
analyze every single frame. It starts off white,
Yeah, so
which
see, it
implies
actually,
that the American slave trade.
yeah, it symbolizes white supremacy, and see the sort of beige color. See how it's like kind of surrounded by white and black.
Yeah.
Well, we don't
Yeah.
talk. That's like the barrier
It's
because I
white
have it in theater
supremacy.
mode.
Yeah, right.
This represents the black people being trapped by the white people.
Within
Slavery.
the borders, 14% population or something.
Now this XD meme is sort of misleading. First of all, the font sucks. Second of all, it says XD / animation meme. And
Also, for some reason, they use italicized,
yeah, so
I
let's
don't
go to
know
the next
why.
frame. So the XD slowly
Okay.
gains
Which
size.
signifies how it's trying to build up tension over the second, because it's a 24 frames per second.
So we're about a second in now.
Yeah.
So it's slowly building up, symbolizing that, hey, these people, they want freedom. They don't want to be trapped in the confines that the atrocity
It
that
actually
slavery
is signifying
was.
the uprising of like the slaves in like the 60s, the
Because
1860s, like the Civil War, when like when like Abraham Lincoln slew a light on the matter, and this is actually a video about how the Civil War ended slavery. You'll see in a second.
yeah, so the white has sorted it out. It's not become just white people in general. It's sort of become the South of
Yeah,
the
like, it's starting
United
to
States in the
equalate right now.
1850s.
Yeah.
And you see, it's gaining size at about.
Well, and now see the aspect ratio is changing, which means that the white people are fighting back, and then they're growing in population, and it glows in, but then it pops back because like.
And this time, it's taking
the
up
1950s during the civil rights movement, it became really hard for them, but now they're starting to have a comeback right now.
Yes.
By the way, there's no chronological order in this. This actually does not go in chronological order.
That's like kind of the beauty of it, you know. Sometimes like the best stories sometimes are told in unchronological order. See, it's growing in size again, symbolizing the protesters that took to the streets,
And
protesting
there's
for
a
their
slight
freedom.
rotation in the text, which shows the diversity in the Black and Latino population today. By the way.
Yes. See, it grows in size, just like how a movement would grow, per se.
How it's rotating, it is altering. There is a revolution happening in front of our very eyes right now.
Yeah, a revolution within the. Now it's shrinking again, symbolizing that the civil rights movement has ended. Now,
and see how everything's outlined in like blackish.
Blackish
this signifies how like this very thin line. There's not much wiggle room for them, and there's not any gradients happening, which means there's no blending whatsoever, because there's not like it just doesn't make sense for there to be blending. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, you can see this is sort of like a melting pot now. Like this is sort of melting the black population, the white population, the Latino, Hispanic population all into one. This is like sort of when the U.S. became known as the melting pot around the 1970s. This frame here is a great symbolism for that.
Yeah. Keep in mind, hexadecimal for white is just a bunch of F's, by the way. So this actually signifies all of the volume within the letters of the hexadecimal, which also signifies how the white has volume compared to the black.
See, it's growing, the melting pot.
Yeah. Anything to say on this frame?
This frame, it also has
I don't
become.
have much. It just shows that the black population is growing again. I think that's about it.
It goes down.
Yeah.
Now this symbolizes peace. And see that line right there.
Look, that's bridging the gap between black and Hispanics.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's sort of.
And how there's actually university.
And the bridge is
and how and see, look, the population just skyrockets right now. You see
You
that?
can see it's sort of because 18%
And
of
see, it's
ours.
starting to blend too. That's not motion blur. That is blending, and how people are starting to get more along with
Yeah,
each other.
you can see like right around here. There's these white lines blending in with the
Yeah,
color.
and you can see like a slight difference, like in the middle of it all. You can see like kind of blackish. That signifies like how they're all breeding, and then they're getting like lightish, darkish skin colors. How they're all breeding now and making babies and reproducing.
Yeah, I think we
So it
did.
signifies the growing population, for it is actually of the area within this image. And then you see how and now look at like in the center of the screen here. You can see how you have two different colors, which signifies the university between everything, and how the area or volume is changing. So therefore, the black population and the Hispanic population is growing,
Yes.
and how it's starting to blend in and like coincide and intermingle with the white
I
population.
can
But the
see
white
it's really
population is still
now what this represents. How it's going from this side to this side. This what this represents is how it's the black population, Hispanic, Latino population has grown really from this from west coast to east coast
yeah,
and
because
the south.
this is actually a mirrored image. So you see how well actually no, see how like there's no like black point on the eastern part of the image,
Yes.
but on the south there's more black because that's where they were originally traded. But then they started going into Central America in the center of the screen, which like the thickest population is, and that is gonna spread, right?
Yes. So you can see happiness really grows, which that smile signifies all the black people, Hispanic, all these different races. They're satisfied at once after 150, after like 100 years of attempting.
Yeah.
And see, it
And
slowly
so you can
moves.
just say like how like the population is just changing ever so slightly at 24 frames per second, right?
Yeah, and you can also see it's sort of moving up and like it's just expanding out, representing that more.
Coming from down to up signifies how people are being born and dying at the same time, but
It
in
also
this case there seems to be more dying than living, so that means that the population is actually declining. The black population is declining.
and
But
it
the white
also
population is currently staying stagnant because that's not what we're focusing on. Oh, you went back 5 seconds. Just press like the arrow button. Or
so
not, or whatever, I don't know.
see it expanding. That also represents how the reach of it is expanding, and that really they're reaching
You
all
can
parts,
see
all 50
how
states.
like wide it goes, like it's taking up almost the entire 16:9 aspect ratio. Now 16 is a special number. It is 4 squared and 8 times 2, and 4 and 8, other than 60, have some of the most numbers that can link to them. I don't know what the mathematical definition is. And 9 is a prime number, which signifies how it cannot be changed very often, which is like with the white population. Like the white population is very stubborn, and like they weren't. It wasn't like an easy shift to like have so much racial diversity in their country. And the 16 part of it, where you can see mostly how the black population is spending outward, not upward, signifying how it is actually part of the even or composite side of the population, and they're more open to thought and more used to change.
Yeah. See the hands disappear, signifying that in the south,
Signifying that
the south has
yeah,
a struggling. It's struggling still to this day. Really struggles with the black population.
like there's still like some hint of racism going on in like the southeast part of America.
Yeah, but it's still there's a very high population there, so it's
Yeah, the
representative.
population is quite dense.
Yes. So the eyes. That's really
See that like it just collapsed in on the Hispanic population, where they're gonna have to find another area because remember this is Central America. They're all migrating to California because closer to Mexico, you know. And, like if you keep going, you can see how everyone is aging at a similar rate, including the very dense parts in the center of the screen, signifying how there are not many people being born, but there are not many people dying at the same time.
you see. It really you see it blossomed right there, per se. It
Yeah.
blossomed. It
See,
fell down,
there's
and it
there's
bloomed beautifully.
hardly any blending going on, which means the white population is starting to lash back a little bit, and there's not that much um um reproducing between the races right now in this point in time.
See,
But you can see now there's gradient, there's motion blur, there's blending between the colors, and you can see that on the image you can tell that they're starting to produce more within each other, and how they're starting the whites. Oh, and see, look at that, look at that. Look how much blending is going on. This is an actual revolutionary turning point within the American history itself. But then the black population is declining right here until it's gone, basically.
Now, this is actually the coolest part. This is actually not in chronological order. This is back.
Yeah.
This sort of as like a flashback.
This is before like they started shipping in slave. This is like 1700 stuff. Before that even. Before the slave trade started. So this is actually back when America was first founded, when it only had white people, for the most
And
part.
the
white
slaves, they're really not people, because back in the day, they were only counted as 3/5 of a person to satisfy the South. So really, this satisfies that essentially every single citizen was black. I mean, not black, white.
Yeah, because see, right here, like, black people weren't considered citizens. So right here, so within every pixel of a screen, there's a black gap. So if you were to zoom in, look at your screen really quickly, you can see red, green, and blue. But in between that is black. So therefore, there's black within the white, but black isn't being recognized in the image as, like, mirroring to the fact that they weren't recognized as citizens.
Yeah. Okay, this is...
This is where all of the racial diversity starts. You got all the colors. Like, you got Asian, European,
You
like,
see, you
African.
got the stripe back. That represents the movement.
The stripe signifies the growing population, and see how much volume there is. See how much volume there is, but still, there's not that much grading, which means there's not that much breeding between the two races, except for like in the center of the image. See how it's growing a little bit.
This is sort of like the image we saw earlier, but it's different.
You see, there's like a lot more color space now instead of just black and white, which signifies, like, the black or the darker color signifies the Hispanic and stuff. The green signifies Asia, and the blue signifies Middle East. And all the other colors, they signify the relationship between each other, and how little see how within the stripe itself, there is a lot of gradients going on, which means that the races that would be considered to be inside of that are coinciding together, but they're not with the whites, because the whites are racist, and they're still growing. They're still growing to everything. And you'll see a pattern throughout this video that you can just see all of the colors, all the races. They're all like just existing together, but they're all like going through changes and stuff, which signifies like the movement happening in the image you see. So therefore, it signifies everything that is going on.
Yeah.
Alright, you can continue.
See, it zooms out.
Oh, and see, look. Remember, up to down signifies birth to life, which means that age is a real issue. Well, not an issue. It's like a real phenomenon that is happening.
Yeah,
it's perfectly. Being.
It's perfectly balanced, as you can see, because it's all the way down here, and this is sort of a life spectrum. That this right here is birth. This is death. It's really diverse. This is sort of like a graph. This half is women. This half is man. You can see it as almost symmetrical.
Yeah, because the man and woman population isn't perfect 50-50. Also, you can see still, remember, it's going up to down, because death isn't something you can change, just like 9, for it is a prime number, so it's very hard to change. The only thing you can do is halt it. You can't prevent it. You can only make it take longer, like taking medicines or random stuff.
You can see it zoom out. These ears pop up, and this sort of represents...
See how the Middle East only has a large population of men? because they were migrating from all the wars that were happening, and they're being drafted. I don't know if that is historically accurate, but that is what is being shown in this image based on how we interpret it.
See, it's zooming out more, representing how
Well,
it's
you can
really.
see basically how the men and women population is almost balanced, almost there, almost symmetrical, but quite not, because it will never actually be fully balanced. And if it is, it will be for like a very brief time, just as illustrated or in this image.
See, this image is sort of shrinks back, and this sort of animal, per se pony, you could say,
Character.
this character, this this character, it really represents. It represents all the diversity we have in, this is like in the United States, and how like the white, you can see it's also like this whole, you can see like the graph. That's death, life, birth, death, and it's all balanced really, because
So here's basically key. Up and down means up means death. So if you're at the top, you're close to the end of your life. If you're at the bottom, you are just starting life. And if you are going to the side or side, that means your people are growing. Because remember, 16 is a number that can be very easily altered using division and stuff to get a full number, because we're basing this off of integers, not actual like full real numbers. We're using the instance of decimals as kind of a null zone in a way to signify how change can be happened with composite and prime numbers. I mean, I know I'm not explaining this properly, but we're just using full numbers to make this more easy.
yes. And
Well,
this
See,
right
look,
here.
so there was a population. So the population decreased. You can see in the stripe. You can see how there's not as much orange and yellow. The yellow signifies like the northern parts, like Canada and South America. So like a lot of contrast in the yellow. And you can just see how the Canadian and South American population just dipped in like the stripe, but you can see how in the stripe it's almost even, if not it is, which means that the men and women population is starting to come into like a 180-degree angle going on right here, a fully horizontal rip of existence. So as you notice throughout these frames, you can see how each frame has its own story to tell. Some frames the color goes up and down. The other frames just like wiggles a little bit. I mean, that's not a very proper way of saying it, but you can just see how like it just slightly like alters its position, its coordinates on the plane inferring to screen. But you can see right here the men population is starting to really climb right now, and the women population is increasing. That's just what I wanted to point out.
The star. This represents unity. The star represents unity amongst all races.
The star represents unity amongst all races, and we can see yellow population, which means the yellow population is also growing. Right here. And see how so when it comes to the sense, we're not basing things off of pure figurative language. For the star is something completely physical. So instead of judging the star from going back to the beginning of its life, we're judging it on how it is moving to the farther bottom of the screen, and therefore slowly fading into obscurity and being forgotten.
Yeah.
See, look how it's falling slowly, but it's still. Oh, and this is where it starts to go away entirely. So now racism is a problem. It's a real problem now.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is yeah. Oh, look how much stuff changed. Look how much gradient. Look, okay, so now racism is no longer a big issue. because how much blurage or gradients is going on. So therefore, there's a lot of blending, and also the yellow population is grew now. So there's a lot of Canadian and South American here. But still, the black population is like kind of struggling. Like it's there, but not fully there. And remember how the whites, they're still not blending in with everything. Like they're still just keeping to themselves, kind of.
Yeah. See, it's it's growing out. It
Yeah.
shifts
So
over.
look, okay. See now, see. So like, go to the next frame. Um, yeah, right there. Where the more like where the character again fades into the frame, and you can tell all the gradients happening. And at this part, even the white is getting in on it too. Like they're starting to blend in as well. But there's still a strong population to the left, which still isn't doing it. But you can tell on the borders of both edges of the character and towards like the left middle part of the screen, you can tell there's a little bit of blurge between. So you can tell that a little bit of the population stuck with the stereotype of the large group is still not racist towards each other.
Hmm.
So you can tell. Okay, now they're starting. So there's basically no like breeding between them going on anymore. You can tell how it's still just like, still like maybe towards like the very top where all the dead people are or almost dead people are. They're starting to realize their life and they're starting to get kind of physiological about this. And they're starting like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be racist. But like at the bottom, to be honest, everyone's like kind of born. Whatever skin color you see first, that's what you're gonna be used to. So like it makes sense for the really young kids to keep to themselves, but there's still obviously room for change. You can keep going, yeah. And you can see how everyone is slowly aging, and now you can see like the diversity. Well, I mean, I'm using more diversity a lot, like the changing between the races going on. Because keep in mind, every single color you see here is technically a race, and we're judging this based on how the colors move. Like remember, if it goes left to right, that means that they're growing, and top to bottom means that they're getting old or getting born. So keep that in mind. So look, now they're starting to get old, but they're not growing in population. You can keep going. See? Oh, and look at all the blending going on. There's a lot of blending between two social parties right now. And you... How come you haven't been saying much,
Because I don't know. I've just been.
You've just been, there? You've just been, like, kind of...
I've been
there,
observing.
existing?
I've just been
Right.
in awe.
In awe of what? In awe of my brilliance, or in awe of what you are seeing?
In awe of the brilliance.
Okay, good.
See,
So
they
you
really.
can tell there's a lot of breeding between them because there's a lot of blending.
See how
And-
fashionably?
Yeah. See how quick things can change?
Yes.
Like, this is a single frame.
And they
And
completely
you can
flipped.
see how much genetic diversity there is. And, so obviously the bigger character, basically the front of the screen, is obviously has more population. And so that is a social party that is growing. And you can tell by the expression of the other character in the back. You can tell that it's beginning to feel like a bit of jealousy because we are now judging based on facial expressions. And so facial expressions will represent every single racial party within the character itself. So you can keep going.
See, it slowly starts to move
It
back.
starts,
It starts like to.
it's starting to make itself like more pronounced
Yeah,
instead of being behind the more outwards characters being more it should like more capture your attention if you're watching this video
Yeah,
without going frame by frame.
it's go shift back and then shifts forward, I believe.
Yeah, and you can still tell, like in the bottom, you can see all the races just like going about their existence, and you can look, so you can see how the character in the back looks slightly inspired, and this is probably going to lead to a racial war within the borders of the country in which it is happening, which we are interpreting it as the U.S. because it's the most racially diverse country in the world. So we might have a race war among us soon.
And they also they see the shift
Oh.
away.
See? So wait, go back to that frame. So you can see more inbreeding between ourselves, but there's no breeding within the social parties because the different parties, political parties, social parties, racial parties, does have a big role to play. Who you want to marry, who you want to have kids with. So you can see how the slate is opening slightly, and how competition is starting to die down, and how it's basically anyone's game to be in front right now.
Yeah. It goes to this frame, which represents
So,
a new
currently-
start.
Yeah, a new start. So currently this social party is unknown, but this might be like propaganda now, trying to make themselves appear desirable, and how they want to join that social party or
Yeah.
political party or racial party, but they're of the same races. So see,
It's back to the original, really. So that was just like
so it's basically just history repeating itself. So you can skip through all this because everyone watching knows what's happening right now. Yeah. Oh, see, wait, go back a bunch. So you see, look, everything's flipped. So the party that was in the back is now in the front, and the original like party in the front is now in the back with slightly I don't know how to say it. I don't know my expressions, like slightly irritated look.
yes.
And you can tell how the party in front looks to be excited / relieved, and see. And so this is just a transition, and then a third party. This is a third party that comes in, which is, if you look in the background, it shocks everyone in the back. And this is, I don't know, so you can see a war that is about to ensue of another party that is going to happen.
Yes.
I'm not wording anything properly. So you can just see how it's like presenting itself. It starts off in the back, vague and mysterious, but then it slowly reveals its face to show, like how it is more incredible than the other parties going on. So
See, it really blocks everything.
Go back one frame. Or 2 frames. I don't know. Yeah, right there. You can see all the blurrage going on, so yeah.
Really,
I want to point that out. There's a lot of breeding between the people in the party, but none to anyone without.
And this really represents that this party wants to like control. It really just wants to be the big powerhouse. So you can see it's completely blocking out a majority of both.
Just trying to remove the competition.
Yes.
So as to say. So yeah, we're currently almost through. We're like maybe a fourth of the way through, maybe a third.
And you see, it
And
goes
see,
back
look, now
to it.
this is the propaganda going on
Yes.
within the. So you can see everything happening.
And it goes to
look,
this.
right here. Look,
See, it's completely.
these are the two parties, the two original ones. It doesn't matter which one was originally in front, but these are them amongst each other, and they both look to be angry at the other party that just took over all their clout.
You can
So you
see,
can
see
see
their
that.
colors. Their colors are different. It's because the guy who is in front, the character who is in front, this is his imagination of what his perfect world would be, and
You
how
can
he
also
wants.
tell how the black population is slowly growing.
Yes.
And the Latino population is happening with all like the color shifts between the black population, and you can just see like the crazy expressions that are happening between the two parties because they're both mad at each other.
Yeah.
Or well, mad at the third party that just came and like took all their thunder. You know?
Yeah. I actually do gotta go for a bit.